So our story would not be complete unless I spoke about the employee experience. So if you look around, you will find this hashtag or abbreviation called EX, and that refers to employee experience. And in the same way as we looked at customer experience, if we unpack what an employee experience is, yes, it's also about the more rational parts of an employee experience, employee experiencing a brand through what we refer to as an employee value proposition. Except what's different for the employee is it's less transaction based. It's much more cyclical. So I would come to work in the morning, I would go through certain projects, certain phases. Within a quarter, I might go through certain review cycles. So it's much more cyclical when we look at the employee experience. But it's about the rational parts of that experience. It's also about the emotional parts of that experience. And then there's our sensory parts of the experience. So what does the workplace look like? Where does the employee sit? Do they have natural light? What is the colors that they have around them? What are some of the facilities that's available to them? Is there a canteen? Is there coffee? But it's also about the deeper underlying things around culture. What team are they a part of? What does their tribe look like? So there's a whole rational, emotional, and sensory side of that experience. But if we go back to my explanation of customer experience, I deeply believe that employee experience is also about how the employee feels about themselves in that interaction with the brand. Now, we get to work with thousands of people every year, all around the world. And what we hear in those conversations is that people come to work very much on autopilot. Sometimes they don't even think about the experience they're having. Sometimes they're part of a delightful team, but sometimes they also feel very isolated. And then there's this age-old saying, people don't leave companies, they leave bosses. And if we look at the impact that a leader or a manager has on the world of an employee, and again, if we go under the surface, we will find that there's needs, goals, stories, and fears that really shapes the outcome of this experience. So let me share a little bit of my personal story with you. I truly believe that my craft is igniting the best thinking in other people. I believe my craft is creating a safe environment for people to come up with ideas, for people to do their best innovative thinking. For years in the corporate environment, I was made to feel like I'm high maintenance. I was constantly told that my performance doesn't fit on a normal curve, that I make it really hard for my colleagues because I'm kind of an overachiever. And these stories just reinforce that I don't belong, that I don't fit. I had many, many ideas that were never implemented in the environments where I worked. And I now look back, and at the time I was joking when I said, like, every month in my corporate life, I stood around a graveyard of the ideas that I had to bury, the ideas that were not implemented. So I think those stories sometimes run so much deeper. If we look at the fears, the top fears that people share with us, and we get to interact with thousands of people every year. We do an exercise with them called the stinky fish exercise. And in this exercise, they share with us, just like rotting fish, if you don't talk about it and if you don't share it, it's probably just going to become more stinkier. But they share with us their fears around being irrelevant, around not being seen, around not doing work that actually matters to the world, around the imposter syndrome, being found out that they can't really do what the organization expects of them to do. So there's a lot of underlying fears that would shape what an employee experiences. And for us as organizations, the call now is to redesign the world of work, to take the kindness and put it back into humankind and make workplaces places where people can do work that really matters to them. So as we continue with these various masterclasses, I will share more with you around how we can proactively start designing experiences for customers and for employees. But most of all, design experiences for humans.